The first thing we need to do is we need to get Node.js installed. So open up your browser and go to nodejs.org. This will take you to the Node.js homepage, and you have two options for download, and this will be specific for your operating system. It detected I'm on Mac OS, therefore it gave me links to the Mac OS downloads, and if you're on Windows, it would give you Windows downloads. If you want to download for a different OS than you are viewing this web page on, you can click this Other Downloads button, which will take you to all of the installers. From the homepage, you have two options. You have this LTS version and you have the current version. We're going to pick the LTS. The LTS is the most stable version. The current one is the most up-to-date with the latest features, but not quite production ready yet and may have some bugs. We're not going to be using any of the latest features. The LTS is fine for us. So download the LTS one. Once it's downloaded, run the installer. And just go through the steps to install it. Once it's installed, we want to verify that everything is working. So we're going to open our terminal app. On Mac OS, it's called Terminal. On Windows, it's called Command. And at the command prompt, we're going to type node-v. And if it's installed correctly, we should get the current version installed, and I have 16.15.1 matching what we see here. And similarly, just type in npm-v, and that should give us a version back as well. All right, Node is properly installed. Let's move on. Let's take a look at our code. I left you with a zip file you could download, and just double-click it and extract it. And inside, we'll have two files, index.js and package.json. We're going to take a quick look at these files. Open up your text editor. I'm using Sublime Text. You can use whatever text editor you like. And I'm just going to drag in this folder here, and this will give me access to both of these files at once here. So the first file is index.js, and this is where all of our code is going to be. And you can see there's already some code in here. The second file is package.json. Every Node.js app has a package.json file, and you can see it just describes the app. It has a name, its version, a description, etc. I'm going to call your attention to this section right here, dependencies. This app makes use of a library called socket.io-client, and this is how we communicate with ProtoPie Connect. This is not included in the zip file, so we have to install this. And we can do that if we go into our terminal, and we need to navigate to the folder where this is. And a really easy way to do that is just cd space, and then open up the folder over here. I'm just going to drag this in, and this will give us the path to that exact folder here, and then press enter. And I know that I'm in there. If I do ls, ls is the command to list files in a directory. I see I've got index.js and package.json. On Windows, you would type dir. That's the equivalent of ls. So I know I'm in the right place. I need to install the dependencies, and we do that with this command, npm install. And there we go. And you'll see I have a new folder over here called Node Modules, and this is everything that was required to support the Socket.io client. Now this app is ready to run. Now we want to make sure that we have ProtoPie Connect running. I already have it open, but if you don't have it open it now. And let's run the app. npm start. Okay, now we see we've connected to ProtoPie Connect, and we've sent a message through, bridge app ready, app name to ProtoPie Connect, and we see that. That's been sent through here. And we can send a test message through. We can just say, hello, Earthling. And if I click send, I can see the message was sent out, and in my terminal, I should see received a message from ProtoPie Connect. There we go, we see that. So our app is already set up to connect to ProtoPie Connect, and it has the ability to send and receive messages. So this is a great start for us. I'm going to stop the app. Anytime you have a running Node app, you stop it with Control-C. So you hold the Control key down on your keyboard and tap the C button. And there you go. That stops the app. Start it with npm start, and stop it with Control-C. This code is a good starting point for any ProtoPie Connect bridge app you might make in the future, so keep the zip file handy. When you want to create a new bridge app, you start with this code and modify it for your needs, which is exactly what we'll do here. Let's go into package.json and make some modifications here. And instead of calling this ProtoPie Connect bridge app boilerplate, I'm going to call this date-time-weather. bridge-app. When you make a name in your Node.js apps, you can only use lowercase letters, dashes, or underscores in the name. No spaces, no uppercase, no numbers. You can give it a description here. And I will say, providing date, time, and current weather conditions, which is what this is going to do. And for author, you can update this with your name. Make sure you save. And let's make some changes in index. The one change we're going to make is right here, and that's this ProtoPie Connect app name variable. And I'm going to change this to say date, time, weather, bridge app. This is how ProtoPie Connect will report the source. You see over here it said app name. That was the name we had before. If I start this app, you're going to see now the source says date, time, weather app. And if I make this bigger, let me make this bigger here. You're going to see this is the source of this message. And any messages that this app sends will have this as the source now. So I know where it's coming from. Okay, I'm going to stop the app. And let's make some changes. Let's set this up to provide date and time to our Pi. I'm going to use a dependency for this. So I want to install something else. So similar to how we needed to install the socket.io-client dependency, I want to install something that's going to make working with date and time really easy. So let's go back to our terminal here and type in this command, npm install moment-save. So npm install is the command to install a library. Moment is the name of the library, and this --save, this will instruct Node to include this in our list of dependencies. You're going to see this change in a second. So it installs, and if we look now at our package.json, you're going to see now this has been added as a dependency. If I were to remove this folder and then reissue the npm install command, it will install both socket.io-client and moment.js. Let's use this in our code. We want to tell Node that we want to use this in our code, so we need to include it at the top here. So const moment equals require, and I'm just going to use the name of the library, moment. Now, anytime in my code, I will refer to this library with this keyword here, moment. If I had called this something else, if I had called this, maybe I called this date time, I would refer to it with date time. But I'm going to use moment, so I know that I am referring to that specific library called moment. And let's look a little bit further down in our code here. You can see we have this area here. Handle incoming messages from ProtoPie Connect here, and it has a little bit of sample code of what this looks like. Now this is commented out, so when you see either 2 slashes like this, or when you see a block of text that has this at the start and this at the end, these bits are ignored when you run your code, and you can use this to explain what's going on in plain English. And in this case, we're providing an example of how to handle some messages coming in there. I'm going to remove this and this, which is going to turn this now into real code, and I'm going to change this message to get time. And anything that's between this line that says case and this line that says break is the code that will get executed when a message comes in with the name get time. I'm going to replace this. Send message to connect. I'm going to use a message called time. And I'm going to do something here. I'm going to make reference to the moment library, and I'm going to call it constructor. This will give us the current system date and time. Then I'm going to call the format method on it. And I'm going to format this with this pattern. And close this. I'm going to explain what's going on here. So I've called a function here called send message to connect. If you look just a little bit further down, we have this function right here. This is what we can use to send messages to connect. If you've used functions in your formulas in Studio, this works the same way. I have a function name called send message to connect. It takes 2 parameters, the message and its value, and this will trigger this to send a message through to connect. And here I am. I'm sending a message called time. And the value is this. Now this looks a little bit cryptic, but I'm going to explain what's going on. So I've got the current system date and time, and I've provided instructions on how to format it. So if we go to moment.js's website, and we take a look at the docs, and let's look at display, and we're going to look at the format method here. These are all the different ways you can format your date and time we're going through here. And I've used the small h, which gives me the hour, single digit when it's only a single digit, 2 digits when it's 2 digits. If I wanted the leading 0, I would use HH. And then I've used MM, which will give me 2 digits of the minutes, so leading 0 when it's only a single digit, all the way up to 59. And this uppercase A, this will give us back AM or PM, depending on what time it is. So this is giving us time back in a 12-hour clock format. Let's see this in action. So I'm going to save this. Remember to always save your work. And let's go back to our terminal. And I'm going to start the app again. npm start. Okay, now, much like we sent this hello earthling message over here to send a test, let's send the message get time. And then I'm just going to click on send. Now you're going to see 2 things happened. We sent the message get time, and that came from the dashboard. That's this ProtoPie Connect window right here. And then our app right here, you see in the source, our app responded with the message time, and it gave us the value 7:22 p.m. Now we have a way to get real time into our pies, and we're going to do that a little bit later. Let's now do the same thing for the date. I'm going to add another case in here. So case, and this time the message will be get date. And I'm going to copy this because it's going to be very similar. And the message will be date this time. And I'm going to use a different format here. We're going to take a look at our formatting options here. And I'd like to give this I want the full name of the month. I want the full name of the day. So I'm going to use DDDD space capital M, 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 M. And I want the number. And I only want single digit numbers, so that's capital D. So my format options are, 4 small d's, space, 4 capital M's, and capital D. So this should give us, for today, Thursday, June 9. All right, let's save this. And I need to stop and start my app now that I've made a change. So Control-C to stop it, and then npm start again to start it. And I should now be able to send the message get date. And there we go. I got get date, and it came back with the message date along with the value Thursday, June 9. And my get time should still work. There we go. So now I have a way. I have a way to send a message through Connect to get the current date and the current time. Let's make this work in our Pi. So let's open the Pi in Studio. And this will look very familiar because this is similar to the wall/tablet control that we used for the very first lesson when we learned how to make Pis talk to each other. But there's a small difference over here. This bottom corner now has some placeholders for date and time and some weather conditions. And we're going to use our new bridge app to fill these in. So let's start off by filling in the date and time. I'm going to add a start trigger. And then under here, I'm going to send a message. So I'm going to send through ProtoPie Studio. Remember, because we want to go through Connect, we need to use the ProtoPie Studio channel. And the message I want to use is get time. And let's just rename this, get time to connect. And I'm going to add another send, and this one will be for get date. ProtoPie Studio, get date. To connect. There we go. And now I have to set up the receives for this. Because I'm sending these messages, my app is going to respond with the message time and the message date. So let's add a receive from ProtoPie Studio, and we want the message time. And this is going to be assigned to a variable. Anytime we have something come back with a value, we need to assign it to a variable. I don't have one yet, so let's make one. And we'll call this time. And I want this to be text because it has more than numbers in it. It does have the colon in the middle and AM or PM, so this will be text. And let's now assign this to the variable time. And what do I want to do with it? Well, I want to update this text field with the value of time. So let's use a text response. Text, select layer, and that will be this one here, time. I want to use a formula, and I want to fill it with the value of time. Okay, and we'll do the same thing for date. I'm going to add another receive trigger from ProtoPie Studio, and this will be date. Assigned a variable. Again, I don't have one, so let's make one. Date. This would be a text variable. And we are going to update the text. The layer will be date. And once again, formula. And we will choose the date variable. So receive date from Connect. Oh, it doesn't like what I've done here because my formula didn't take, so let's fix that. Date, click on OK. There we go. Okay, I'm going to save this. And now let's open this up in Connect. So I have my Pi here. I'm going to drag it into Connect. And let's start this now. There we go. And we see we've got our date and the time showing up here. So okay, this is working. Now I'd like to do the same thing here with the weather conditions here. Now I'm going to be using OpenWeather's API for this, and it's free. We don't need to pay for anything to do this. We're going to get the current temperature back, we're going to get the feels like temperature back, and we're going to get the level of humidity. Plus we're going to get an indicator of what icon to show. Now in our Pi, I'm just going to open this up here. This is a component. And you can take a look, we have a whole bunch of icons that are in here, and they are currently hidden because I have this clipped on here. But this is a technique that I like to use. This is a sprite. So I have this icon container, oops, and you can see now, I'm going to turn the clipping back on here. And if I move this left and right, you can see depending on how far I move it, a specific icon is shown. And that is just set right here. So scroll to icon by name. This is going to take in an icon name, and it'll be one of these, and it'll scroll to that particular one. So scroll to, I get the layer name and its X value. This is a pretty efficient way of putting together something like this, and it makes it really easy to add more icons into this later if I want to expand everything that's in here. So you want to head over to openweathermap.org and create an account for yourself. And once you have one, you'll be able to get your API key. It will have been emailed to you, but if you've lost that email, you can just click on your name up here when you log in. You go to My API Keys, and if you click on it, and there's my API key here. Now this is private. That's why I have it blurred out in here, so don't share this with anybody. This identifies you when you make a request to get weather information, so don't share this with anybody. Once again, we're going to need to use another dependency here. We need a little bit of code to handle our request to the API and back. So I'm going to stop this with Control-C, and let's install another one here. npm install Axios and -- save, because we want this to be included in our project. We want to add this to our package.json. Now let's go back to our code. We need to add this to our project. Const Axios equals require Axios. Axios is a library that's going to greatly simplify making a request to the OpenWeather API. All right, let's make some changes to our code. We're going to add another message here. Case get weather. This will be the message coming from our Pi. Now, all of these were just one line of code, and that's all we need to do. This is going to be a little bit more involved because we need to send now a request off to the API, get the weather, and then send a bunch of messages back. And this is how we use the Axios library. Axios is really simple. Axios.get, and this is where we put the URL in, and we can get the information we need. If we go to OpenWeather, we go to API, and we're going to be using the current weather data API. So let's click on API doc. And just copy this. This is the URL we're going to call. So copy that, and we're going to put that, make sure it's between quotes, and we're going to fill in these blanks. So it needs your latitude, your longitude, and your API key. So let's take a look. How do I know my latitude and longitude? Well, we can go to a website called latlong.net. And you can literally type your home city, Toronto, Canada. And there we go. So there's my latitude. So let's copy that. And we will just paste that over top of that. This is our longitude. I'm going to copy that. And our API key we will put here, which we can get from, remember this is secret, don't share it. And I'm going to add in one more parameter. So if we take a look at all the different ones, latitude, longitude, and API key, those are required. However, you have some other optional ones here. And the one I'm going to add in here is units, because by default, I'm going to get standard units back, and that gives you temperature in Kelvin and stuff like that. So I would like metric units. So I'm going to specify units equals metric in my URL here. So at the very end, type an ampersand. This splits one parameter with another. So you can see you've got lat equals something, ampersand, long equals something, ampersand. You need the ampersand here at the end. And then we're going to say units equals metric. All right, then on the next line, type .then, and this is going to be a function that gets returned. So function response. When we get the information back from the weather API, that's what gets called here, and here is where we're going to send some things back. So let's take a look at the API here and what we get back here. So we get a bunch of things back here. We want the temperature. And all of this will be in the response object, and then it has a property called data, and that's everything you see here. So all of this is response.data. And then we want response.data.main.temp. So let's do a message here. We're going to send message to connect, and I will call this temperature. How about current temperature? Current temp. And I want response.data.main.temp. And we also want the feels like temperature, so we're going to do another send message to connect. Feels like temp. And this is also in, that's this one right here. Response.data.main.feels_like. We would like the humidity as well, so that's main.humidity. Humidity, that's response.data.main.humidity. Okay. We want the text description. We would like this one right here. Now this is interesting. So this shows us in these square brackets. That means this is an array, which means that there could be multiple of these weather objects in here. So we need to be a little bit different with how we retrieve these properties here. So let's make another one here. Send message to connect. This will be, I will call this weather description. Response.data.weather. And because this is an array, I would like the first element of this array, or index 0. I need to specify that here. 0. Dot. Description. And I also want the icon. So send message to connect. We'll call this weather icon. And this is also inside that array. So let's copy this. I want everything up to that there and icon. You will notice that the icon code we're getting back here, 01D, this does not match up with the icon names that we have here. So we need some way of mapping these codes to these names here. I go back to the API screen here, and if we scroll all the way down to the FAQ and we look for icons, you're going to see this has kind of already been done for us here. So we've got the code 01D and 01N, and that maps to clear sky. 02D, 02N, that's mapping to few clouds. 03D, 03N, that is mapping to scattered clouds. And you see they've used the same icon here. Meanwhile, there's different ones for night and day for these ones up here. I've done something similar. And if all I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy in something I have here. So let me just pop this down here. I have something here called icon map. I've left a copy of this code in the description, so you can copy it as well. And this essentially maps the codes that I get to a name of the icon. And all of these correspond to the icon names that we have in here. So I just need to change this to say icon underscore map. And I will use the code I'm getting back is the key, so it should be able to search up. So if the icon code that I get back is 01D, then I'm going to use instead this text clear day. And if the code that I get back is 09N, then I'm going to use the icon name rain, which corresponds to all of the ones that I have here. The last thing I might want to do here is I might want to catch an error here. So I can add in a .catch. So let's say I'm unable to connect, or there's a problem with my API key, or I've forgotten a parameter. I want to see an error in my console here so I know what to fix. So I get back in function here, which has the parameter error, and I'm just going to have this log out to the console. Console.log, say open weather error, and we'll add in the error. And then I'm going to finish that off, and this should be everything I need to do. So let's save this, and let's stop and start our app, and let's make sure we didn't make any mistakes here. Stop, start. Okay, everything's connected, and let's see. Let's issue this command get weather and see what happens. So we'll go over to connect. And let's clear all this. We can see these things come in. Get weather, send. Okay, I've got the current temperature, 19.49 degrees. Feels like temperature, 19.09 degrees. Humidity, 61%. Weather description, light rain. Weather icon, rain. So this is working. I'm getting all the information back. All we need to do now is hook up our sends and receives inside of our Pi, and we should be able to use this. So let's go back to our Pi. Go to the main scene. I'm going to add one more send under my start here. Send to ProtoPie Studio. This will be get weather. And we'll set up all of our receives for all the different weather items that we can get back here. So add trigger, receive from ProtoPie Studio, and let's see, let's go back to our code. What do we have? We've got current temp, so let's copy that. Current temp. Once again, we need to assign this to a variable, so I will assign this here for this scene. We'll call this temp, and it is a number. Let's assign that to here, to temp. Receive current temp from connect. And let's update this down here with our temperature. So we're going to do text, select layer. This will be temperature. We're going to use a formula. And I'm going to say the value of temp plus I'm going to use the degree symbol here. Okay, let's save this. And let's see if this now worked. Okay, well, it came back 19.49 degrees. Okay, that's very specific. Let's round this off so we get this 19 degrees instead of 19.49. So we're going to change our formula here a little bit, and I'm just going to use the round function on it. Need to save first. There we go. Condition 19 degrees. So condition, that's going to be our weather description. We're going to add another trigger here, receive from ProtoPie Studio. This is weather, what did we call it? Weather desk? Yeah, okay. Assigned variable. We don't have one here, so let's add one. Weather desk will be text. And we're going to update this condition text field. Text, condition, formula. And we'll use the weather desk variable here. Let's save that and just make sure that worked. There we go, light rain. I would like that first letter to be capitalized, however, so let's deal with that. I'm going to use the left function to get the first letter of weather desk, and I'm going to uppercase all of that. And I would like the rest of the text unchanged. I only want the first letter capitalized, so I'm going to use the right function to get the rest of the letters. And that will be weather desk, comma, length, weather desk, -1. There we go. So it's giving me all the characters from the right except the first character. Say okay to that. Hopefully that capitalized it. Let's see what that looks like now. There we go. Light rain. Very nice. Let's fill in the feels like temperature and the humidity. So those are, if we take a look at our, we've got this feels like thing. So it looks like we're going to need to format the entire thing. So add trigger, receive from ProtoPie Studio. And this is, what did we call it? Feels like temp. And we'll add another variable here. We'll call this feels like. It will be a number. Feels like. And this will be another text response. So the layer I'm going to choose here is the feels like text. And I'm formulating the entire sentence here. So feels like plus. Once again, I want to round, and this will be feels like plus. I need the degree symbol. There it is. Okay, and let's do the same thing. Oh, it doesn't like my formula. Why not? Oh, right, because I don't need to use a semicolon. This isn't real code. And let's do the same thing for humidity. Add trigger, receive from ProtoPie Studio. And this will be, our code here is humidity. We'll assign to, we'll make one more variable here. Humidity. This will be a number. And we'll do the same idea here. So this will be the humidity. Humidity plus, and just in case, I'm going to use the round function on humidity. Plus. Okay, let's see what that looks like. Let's go back to our pie here. And there we go. We got feels like 19 degrees, humidity 61 degrees. We got light rain, and we have 19 degrees as our current temperature. All we need to do now is hook up the icon. So our message is weather icon. Let's copy that. Add a receive trigger. Weather icon. assigned a variable, we'll make a new variable here. And let's call this weather icon. This is going to be text because we're getting the name of the icon back. Receive. This will go to weather icon. So receive weather icon from Connect. And if you recall, the way that my icon works is I need to send a message to it, the message set icon, and I pass along the name of the icon that I want to show. And that's what we're getting back from Connect. So we are going to send to component. That'll be the weather icon component here. The message is set icon, send value together, and we use the variable weather icon. So let's send weather icon. And hopefully that does it. Let's go take a look. Let's see. There we go. Look at that. We've got our part sun and cloud icon. We've got our description, few clouds. We've got our temperature, 19 degrees. We've got our feels like temperature of 90 degrees. And we've got our humidity. Oh, it shouldn't say 62 degrees. It should say 62%. So let's fix that. That's our humidity one here. I just need to change this from a degree to a percent sign. That's a little bit better. Save that. And there we go. Now, you did see a little bit of a blip there. So if I reset this, for a brief second, we see the original stuff in here, and then we see it kind of update. It would be nice if we could hide that until we have the information. So let's just do one thing in here. Let's do this. Let's take up all of our weather information. Let's set its opacity to 0, and the date time, we'll set the opacity to 0. And what we'll do is when we get one of these back, one of the date or the time back, because we're going to get them back at the same time, we're going to turn the opacity of date and time up, and we'll set the opacity of the weather one up when we get one of the weather things back. So let's do that. When we get the time back, let's set the opacity. That's the date time container. Set it to 100. And when we get the current temperature back, let's set the weather one. Opacity of, not date time, we want weather, to 100. Okay, so let's see what that looks like now. And there we go. So we get it fade in once we have the data back, so we don't see the placeholders first. And there you go. That is your very first ProtoPie Connect bridge app. Easy as pie.